Eitan, thank you
Cosme.
so much for being here today, man, and doing this.
Yes. Thank you
Thanks
for the
so much.
invitation.
So, your cup of tea is the Indian mythology, myth,
I sip from
scripture.
all the teas. The one I've explored the most with you is Indian mythology.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I remember we were in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
I just met you, and you were singing all these mantras, and you were telling all these stories about Vishnu and about all the other Indian pantheon participants.
Yeah, yeah.
But what caught me the ear, so to speak, the most was the god of psychedelics and weed, the destroyer itself.
Adi Yogi Shiva Mahadev.
Adi Yoga Shiva Matadeo. So who is Shiva? Who is she? Va.
Shiva. So, I don't know if I can turn the camera, but I'll just put this here. This is what I prepared. These are
Oh,
Shiva Sutras.
That's incredible. I
So-
very much appreciate it.
14 sounds, and I'll just go through these sets of 14 sounds and then tell the story.
Okay.
Ai uno reluk e on ai ouch hayavarat lana nyama nga nya nama chapanya kat hatach jabagadadas kapachat tata chat tatava kapai shasha sarak hala. So the story goes, Shiva has a damaru, a drum that is a two-sided drum. Oh, I have something like this. Is it okay if I move through my house to get it?
Oh, please, by all
Okay.
means, make us a tour. MTV type thing.
This
God
this
forbid.
is Shiva. This is a bust 112 feet of Adi Yogi in southern India. This, That is one of the first names that he gets is Adi Yogi, the first yogi. He gets many names throughout the whole time. And one of the things he has is a drum. This is from Mexico, but it looks a lot like this. And then in this case, this is damaru. So he plays this, and the beat that he makes is the beat of existence. And it goes dum aru, dum aru. And this, in India, the traditional one there is called damaru.
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 Amaru.
And then it goes the beat of existence. Dum aru, dum aru, dum aru. And this is going back and forth. And in the stories of Shiva, he says, I'm going to destroy the world. Ready? I'm going to create the world again. And the way it's described is that every time, as a human, you close your eyes, you have the ability to destroy the world in your experience. You go into the inner realm that is something distinct from this physical world, and you have the availability to it, and then you can also, in some ways, experience it with eyes open. However, this is the practice of yoga, is to get you to this experience.
There's a lot of personal alchemy in there as well. Like you're closing the eyes and you're destroying your own world.
Mm-hmm.
And then you open the eyes and then you create a new world. It's so empowering, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can always forever create a new reality for yourself. Or it's
Yes. Yeah. For
pretty
me, all
amazing.
of this started with physics. I studied physics, and I now connect the dots. So in India, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, creator, preserver, destroyer. In physics, proton, neutron, electron.
Which one is the destroyer?
The electron.
Why is the electron the destroyer?
This is what it actually does in the physical realm. It's the subtractor, the subtractor. It's a minus sign. It literally cancels out the others. And we're going to entropy according to physics, which means at some point, the last proton and the last electron will join and we will reach neutrality. This is the story of physics. And so the reason for people praising Shiva so much is that we have so much creation, so much karma behind this moment, right? Like how much karma I have accumulated, how much karma you have accumulated. This is what we're all attempting to work out. And to do this, you need some level of destruction, some level of fire within yourselves that burns those things that are unnecessary, and then you can compost them, put the ash in the compost, and then bring new life.
I think there is no creation without destruction. There is no regeneration. There is no ascension. There is no way up without. There is no life. There is no life on the field without the field being burned. There is nothing. And what you said, it made me think of the fire element for some reason. Shiva the Destroyer. For some reason, I associated it in my head with fire for some weird reason.
In this realm, we're going even more to Shakti. So, do you know? I'll tell the story of Shiva had 2 wives. If I tell the full story of Shiva, for me it is like this. People talk, are aliens coming or there aliens here? Shiva was an alien. One of his names is Swayambhu. There is no story of Shiva as a child. There is no story of Shiva as an old age human being. He is just always youthful. The whole way through all the stories, always youth. Absolute early mid-20s, the whole time. And there's stories of him that have been made up after as a baby. This is Shambho, but these they know are like, they acknowledge this is made up. This isn't what happened. But in the version of what they say happened, Kailash,
the
mountain,
yes,
has burnt soil all around it. No geologist can explain how there is burnt soil, but not burnt rock. Rock is not melted. The soil is burnt. So for me, this is UFO landed on this, brought this down, full of the knowing that he had and information in a rock formation. And then he sits there, just doing nothing but crying tears of ecstasy and bliss. And 7 people sit down by him. These are known as the Saptarishis. And he has 2 wives. First wife, her name is Sati. Sati's family does not agree with this marriage, and so they don't invite her to the big fire. And in this ceremony, she goes to the fire ceremony and commits suicide into the big fire, into the bonfire. And to this day, there are people in India who women will commit suicide on fire because of this, because of a misunderstanding of what happened. After this, Shiva gets super angry. This is the most angry version of Shiva we see in most of the story. And so he just sits there and he faces south. This is the direction he is facing is generally indicative of the state that he is in. So he faces south, he is angry, he is closing his eyes for 12 years because if he opens them, he's going to burn everything in his path. Later on, he meets Parvati, the daughter of the mountains, and she is known more commonly today as Shakti. And Parvati is his student. She learns she sits next to him while he teaches yoga to the Saptarishis, and then she does a lot of things. She learns Tantra. A lot of Tantra comes from Parvati. She sits by a lake covered in sandalwood paste. And I think I have some.
Sandalwood paste.
Yeah, so sandalwood, there's different processes, but basically you take the sandalwood tree and the bark, sometimes you burn it, sometimes you don't burn it, sometimes you do different things to it, and then it comes out red. You know that dot that a lot of Indian women will have in the middle of their forehead?
Yes.
This is that. This is sandalwood paste originally. Nowadays, I'll just use a piece of plastic because these times are strange. But this. And this is the box. And I will use some for fun.
Sandalwood paste.
Yeah. So, this.
Nyamaska vrtiniroda.
So, one story that I want to tell, which I found recently, is Shakti is taking on this fierce form. She is super angry and intense and is going around destroying the whole world. The whole world she's destroying, burning cities to the ground. And the gods say, Shiva, you have to do something. This is your wife. Please keep her in check. So he decides he's going to go in her path and then just lie there on the ground in Shavasana as a corpse. And she comes, she recognizes him, and she has a moment of decision. Am I going to also kill him? And she does. She stabs him with the trishul, like the trident. She does this, and then this is the moment of reflection. This is the moment I've experienced often in my life when I was young, is you do something so terrible, and then it just clicks. You're just like, oh, I just did that. Now the consequences are going to come. I'm going to have to readjust where I am, how I am. So she does. She brings him back to life, and then he begins to tell her, this is all happening because you think you are your emotions. You're experiencing intense emotions, and you think you're your emotions. You are not your emotions. And then this is the moment when, and one of the times where she becomes a student of his rather than a partner. She goes from being a partner to being a student.
You know how Hanuman is considered an avatar of Shiva. What is an avatar?
The word avatar means to come down. Literally, it means to come down. What this means is humans, in a way, are a meeting point of this planet and the cosmos at large. The other animals on this planet are from this planet, they're of this planet completely. We are something else. In a way, we were pulled up, and our spine is now has the ability to be erect. We are the only animal that really, really has this. And giraffes are somewhat like it, but not really. And avatar means something has come down into you. And so when we say Shiva avatar, it means that source of, that aspect of creation. So when you say that existence cannot exist without destruction, yes, existence has to include the creation, the preservation, and the destruction. There are three aspects that are always at play. So a Shiva avatar is one who the aspect of destruction settled into them. This was the dominant quality that he had those powers and those abilities of the destroyer. And this is avatar, literally means to come down.
And also destroyer of the mind and destroyer of the, generally accepted norms and ideas and conceptions and concepts and everything like that. I think it's it speaks a lot about the necessity of having a part of yourself, because for me myself, I look at it from a psychological perspective. I see all archetypes, I see all, like, patterns and functions of the human unconscious, mostly. And I'm thinking Shiva is that, the snake that eats its tail as well. I think that's another concept that from a different mythology. It's from the Norse mythology, but it's the same kind of like image in my mind. It's the necessity for rejuvenation, for the refresh, for that new, for the destructor. And also a very interesting thing is the fact that Shiva is the goddess of psychedelics and weed. Shiva was ate poison at some point, right? And then her wife, one of her two wives, gave her the, how do the Indians call the weed? The
There's Kush, there's Bhang,
bang,
there's
bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, bang. Yeah, she was one of the wives. I'm not sure if it was Shakti or the other one. What's the other one's name?
Sati.
Sakti. uh, Gave Shiva Bhakti, and Shiva loved it and used it all his life.
Yeah.
But the sutra says it's only for Shiva, and
Mm.
Shiva used it for attainment of spiritual, a heightened state of being. Where I'm not too sure what Shiva actually stated that, you know, use the cannabis plant. But if you'd like to speak more about it, I would love to hear about it.
It was Parvati. She comes from the
Parvat.
mountains, comes from the Kush mountains and brings Kush, like the name, the Kashmir mountains. This is where
Uh-huh.
we get Kush.
Oh, like Kashmir. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um. So when it says only for Shiva, if we acknowledge that each one of us has this reality of creation, preservation, and destruction within us, then it's okay. This is how you can overcome this. It's not Shiva, it's not some other guy out there. You know, this is a story and this is how it landed here. But now that
Mhm.
this happened, it is a reality for any human being that you can experience these three qualities within yourself. Um, what to tell about Kush and Bang? You know who Aghoris are?
No.
So Aghoris are, in a way, the worst kind of yogis. They live in a dead man zone. There are no rules.
Dead Man's Zone, like Himalayas, like near the Himalayas, I would say.
Yes, and planes all over it, and they're respected.
Uh-huh.
However, if you go into their land, they might kill you. They don't
Oh,
care.
really?
They don't care. If you annoy them, they won't kill you if you're doing nothing. But
Yeah.
there is one interview. If you look up Aghori interview, I'm gonna kill you. It is an interviewer, and the interviewer is saying really annoying things, and then the guy just says like, "If you don't shut the fuck up, I am going to kill you," and he's not joking.
Oh, yeah, because he's got the entire Himalayas where he can hide from the authorities, right?
Yes,
And he's a Western anyway. He doesn't really.
and one of the reasons they do this is that they know when a human body dies, that energy they can use it. So those people will go sit by cremation sites to take in the energy because they want to
Really?
use this energy. As the energy of that body leaves, they want to use it for their own liberation.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so they smoke from chillums. Have you seen where they go?
Yes, yes, yes.
And there's a story of Shankaracharya. He is a disciple of, like, much further down, but of the tradition of Shiva. And this story is alcohol, but it's still drugs. He goes and he has disciples following him. So he drinks a bunch of alcohol. And the disciples are like, oh, if he did it, we can do it too. So they do it. Next day, they're walking, and the guy is walking normal. The followers are struggling to catch up with him, but they catch up, and they find him at a metal foundry. Like they're melting iron.
Uh-huh.
And so he takes the iron and he drinks the iron. He swallows iron, molten iron. And then he looks at them and offers a glass. He says, now you? And so the story of this, when we say only Shiva can have bang or kush, is if you are acknowledging that you are doing this for that reason, if you know what you're doing, it's okay. You know you are using a substance that is going to cause certain effects and certain imbalances. It's okay. Do it. You know what you're doing. Don't do it if you're about to drive a car. Don't do it in where you're putting other people at risk. But it's okay. You can do it. Bhang. I don't. You met Surya, yes, at the farm.
Surya, yes, of course, yes.
Uh, he tells me a story of Bhang. 3 days, absolute intoxication. 3 days. It is not like smoking a joint. The preparation is much more elaborate.
Uh-huh.
And to me, it goes something like this. Those substances loosen our grip on the mind, right? I have my mind, you have your mind. These loosen the grip And by loosening the grip, if you are willing, you will begin to access cosmic mind, the greater source of intelligence,
The Tao
the Tao.
that can be spoken.
Exactly. And you experience this. And the Tao comes down, and it is, to me, it is very clear. The one way it is spoken is from of the 7 chakras on the spine in the system. You can go from the base up to here. There's a path. It's a snake. This is the Kundalini.
Mm-hmm.
However, from here to here, there's no path. You have to jump. This is it. There is no way from 6 to 7.
So from your sacrum up to your
Third eye.
to your third eye, there is the physical the spine.
Yes.
But then you have to jump.
And it ends at the pineal. The pineal gland is the last piece of
the last station.
Exactly. And then after that, it's just a jump. If you wish to jump, it's okay, but there's no path. There is no nothing from 6 to 7. 6 to 7 has to come from something where you are so desperate, so hopeless, or so intense, or so willing. Something really that you're just trust. You have to trust that life is going to do it. And what happens, and it happened to me many times when I would do psychedelics, or including marijuana. To me, marijuana is a psychedelic. And do you know?
Same.
Psychedelos. Psychedelos. Do you know
Mind manifesting, expanding, enlarging.
Delos, really, one of the words, one of the etymologies I know is restarting or resetting. It goes on, off, on, off, on, off. In this on, off.
It's more like, the way I understand, it's more like expanding.
But it doesn't expand. For me, so when they talk about the universe is expanding, yes, it's expanding.
I can't hear it. You
okay,
put
yeah. Yes, the universe is expanding, but it's not just expanding like this. It is expanding the same way that everything else is happening in the universe. It is going wider and then a little smaller, and then wider. It's pulsing. Boom.
It has a rhythm to it.
Exactly. It is not just doing this.
Yes. It's like like breathing. Yes. That makes so much sense. That's, I mean, this is the entire life. Like, that's how the universe manifests in everything, right?
Yes. This on off. And when people talk about Gautama Siddhartha, the Buddha, they call him the Buddha. There were so many Buddhas, and there are Buddhas on the planet today, that I cannot call him that and say the Buddha, but he's one of the greatest. One of the reasons he was the greatest is he was so scientific about it. And one way he described this universe is, you experience life as a fan. And if the fan is spinning fast enough, you only see a disc. You just see a disc, full disc. You don't see anything other than the actual fan. You don't see the space in between. Only if you're able to slow down your mind enough can you experience that this universe is actually going in and out of existence over and over and over again. And they have a number for it. They have a number, I can't remember the number, but it's in some text, like 1 billion times per the blink of an eye. Like 1 billion times it just came and went. And
it's and it makes sense now what you said about the psychedelic experience earlier, because when you're under psychedelics, it feels like everything is breathing. Everything is moving. Everything is rather than being fixed. Like, I'm looking at the beautiful Rocky Mountains right now, and I'm looking at this chair in front of me here, and I perceive it as being immobile. Right? It's just there.
Yeah.
But then, take 3 grams of mushrooms and the chair starts breathing.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to explore something I've never had before. This universe is AC, not DC. It is alternating current. It is not direct current. It is alternating on off. And the DC aspect of it is available in a way if you tune into that alternating constant awareness that, yes, you breathe in, you have to breathe out. Yes, you exhale. At the end, it'll be an exhale. right? Like that's one for me. Like it starts with an inhale, it ends with an exhale.
So what characteristic of the AC do you are you talking about?
Alternating, tuck, tuck, tuck. It is not.
Uh-huh.
It is not. It is like this universe appears linear, right? Like this is what people are saying. Like it appears linear. It appears just
Yeah.
like if you look at things for a little while, it appears like okay, that was there a second ago. Okay, it's still there. My phone is here. Okay, it's still here. However, in the super subtle, this is not happening. In the super subtle, it is going on off, on off, on off, and you
Mm.
can. I compare this a lot to this always works. Current technology. Current technology has always been the method of analysis for how we understand the universe. We have to use what's going on now. So your phone, when it starts, or your computer, when it starts powering up, something is happening in the system that we that doesn't really affect. It has to happen properly, but you don't know what's happening, right? Like for my phone, I have an iPhone. There's a little Apple logo, and then that Apple logo, once it comes on, after it's been charging, I know that that means something is happening in the system, but I don't get to see what happens. The screen doesn't show me anything. It just shows me an Apple logo, but the system is going like through some procession of processes, and then it's going, now I'm ready to actually do the things that you want me to do. But it has to do that setting up first. When I studied physics, they would talk about the first few moments in this universe, the laws of physics were different. We don't know how they were, but we know they were different. It was the universe doing that thing. It was the universe booting up, getting ready to do the things. And really, I keep saying universe, it is a multiverse. There are, and if you'll indulge me in this, there are 112 multiverses, and we are number 84.
How do you know the exact number? I do agree there's multiple universes, but how do you know the exact number and how do you know which one is us?
Um, how I know the exact number comes also from the Shiva Sutras. So part of the story of the Shiva Sutras is there are 112 ways to attain moksha, liberation. And Parvati doesn't believe Shiva. She says there must be more. How come there's only 112? How'd you come up with this number? And so this whole time, Parvati has been sitting next to him. And so at this point, she goes and she attempts to find 113th way. And she doesn't. She doesn't. And she comes back and now she sits with the students. She doesn't sit next to him. She sits down in front of him, recognizing, oh, you told me something. I doubted you. And then I went out with all my doubts, all my questions. All my doubts became questions. All my questions were answered or burned. And now I have no more questions. It's 112. How do I know this? This is one of those things where, for me, it's a knowing I have, and I cannot explain it entirely. It is something I know within myself, and we are getting to the Tao that cannot be spoken. However, the 84 comes from many things, but one of the things is that there's, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Heard of it, yes.
So in this, they ask a computer, what is the meaning to life, universe, and everything? And after thousands of years, the computer puts out the answer, 42. This is all the computer says, 42. For me, it goes like this. Half of life is meaningless. The meaning of life is half of it. The other half of life is meaningless. And if you keep searching for meaning in the meaningless, nothing will come to you of the what
Just
impact
grief,
experience.
just pain, struggle, strife.
Yes. And then on the other side, if you treat the meaningful as meaningless, then you are even the worst kind. This is the kind that have been tyrants and destroyed the world because they didn't see the meaning of another piece of life sitting in front of them who needed water, and they had water and they didn't share, and they missed out on the more beautiful things. I have been the kind where I sought meaning where there wasn't any. Right, every little thing I tried to see what it is, and this is Jnana Yoga. It's a yoga of the intellect. It is a very beneficial yoga. You use the intellect to figure things out. However, there are three other kinds of yoga in this realm. There's karma yoga, yoga of action. You do things in the world. First you think and then you can do, or you can do and then you think. And then there's bhakti, there's emotion. What kind of emotion do you have? Are you using your intellect from a place of pleasantness within yourself? Like, are you, oh, I'm so excited to learn about this? Or as most of the people in university are doing, oh, I have to. Oh, it's something I have to do. I don't want to, but I have to do it. And then their emotion is constipated because they really don't want to do the thing and they don't want to feel the emotion because the emotion is just anger. But if they experience anger, they have this idea that they won't be able to do it. They would be better off experiencing anger in brief periods of time rather than experiencing frustration for so long. For me, it's okay. You get angry. It's okay. You can punch the skies just like, da, 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 da. Well, nothing happened. I didn't hurt anybody. You can scream. You can. This is what I would do as an adolescent. I would go to clubs that were really loud, and then I would get my friends and I would say like, okay, we're gonna go down below everybody's chest, and then when the music is about to drop, as soon as it drops, we're just gonna scream, and nobody can hear you. You can scream at the top of your lungs, really as loud as you can imagine. You can scream. The person right next to you can't hear you because the music is way louder. And then the last kind of yoga is Kriya Yoga. This is energy. For me, this is where I find flow. The universe has enough energy for me to simply flow with it, and then I'm just like.
Now, a question arises.
Mhm.
Is it a good idea to use screaming as a cathartic, self-therapeutic instrument? Or is it just a waste of energy?
This is a purely subjective decision.
Which makes it real.
Yes. By this I mean
I
no
totally
matter.
understand. It's like a ritual. And I believe in the healing power of the ritual, of the personal ritual. So, parenthesis, I've been trying to grow hair
Mhm.
for like ages.
Mhm.
And when I last saw you, it was the longest I had it in years. And
Okay.
I said, okay, I'm gonna grow it like long. I'm gonna be like the dreadlock Romanian Rasta. And I never do. I just go into like a full psychotic episode where I take the shaving machine, I go bald, right? So
Mhm.
this time I actually realized that I look like an absolute rascal. And I want hair, right? Because I want to have long, beautiful hair like yourself, Eitan. So what I've done is I've taken a knife and I put it in the fire and I gave myself a sign to where I want my hair to grow to. So
Wow.
this
Yeah.
looks a bit teenagerish and a bit weird.
Yeah. It's okay. I.
But I said, okay, I'm going to grow my hair all the way here. So I'm going to put it on my body in the form of a ritual. And then if I'm going to cut my hair again until it's going to reach that stage, I'm
Mhm.
going to betray myself. And that is not acceptable.
Yes.
So in a few months, you'll see the dreadlock Rasta from Romania. Yeah, sorry, I
It's,
horrifically
you
interrupted
know,
you,
it's
Eitan.
okay.
Sorry.
We
I
will. I
felt the
will.
need.
I will connect with you on this point.
I
I.
felt the need to show some skin.
My fucking ankles. My fucking ankles. um. So I grew up my whole life bald head, shaved. Anything it would grow past this much, shave. This much, shave.
I remember you saying that.
And then
What
now
made
I
you
have
grow hair, Eitan? Why do you have hair, Eitan? Tell me the story of hair.
the story of hair. When I was 15, I decided I didn't want to do this. I had moved to live with my father, and then I simply let it grow. I let it grow pretty long, not as long as I have it now. And then I shaved it again. And I've done this about 5 or 6 times now. And now to me, it has become such a playful thing. And my friends are hosting a Florida themed birthday party. They're
Florid themed.
Florida, Florida.
Oh,
They're
Florida. I thought everyone has to like bath in Florid
no, no, no. Florida,
and
like whatever you.
calcify their pineal glands. It's like anti-spirituality movement.
No, no, no. These are very spiritual people.
I wouldn't
And
be surprised. Boulder
yeah.
hashtag.
And they are somehow a bunch of them have found their way from Florida to Boulder, Colorado, and so they're having a Florida themed party. I have decided I will be the most Floridian. I will get one of those T-shirts that have like the flag of America and the bald eagle and a bunch of guns on it, and I am going to get a mullet. You know what a mullet is?
I know.
And then at the end of the night, I am going to buzz it down to the avatar symbol, and then at the actual next morning, I will just give myself a bald head again.
If this story doesn't involve a crocodile, then something is missing, Eitan.
Thank you. Let's. I have. I have right about here a little crocodile.
Oh, okay. You
I will
can
take. I will take him.
you can put that on your shoulder. It's like you're the Miami pirate, and the crocodile is your parrot.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Eitan.
Yes.
How the heck
Mm-hmm.
did the Indian culture
Mm-hmm.
knew quantic physics and the quantic
Mm-hmm.
entanglement, and they knew about the multiverse, and how did they knew the
Mm-hmm.
essence of the material world before the 20th century physics was able to grasp any of it and even more confirm their sayings. I mean, obviously, there is the aspect of linguistics and the linguistics jurisdictions, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe they were trying to say something else because this is just an interpretation, right? But there's certain extremely peculiar passages in the Gitas, and not just where it's just mind blowing how close that information is to the latest discoveries in quantic physics. Do you have any comments on how they were able to reach that information?
I'll start with a question. Is life happening from the inside out or from the outside in?
Let me think about this for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Is life happening from the inside out or from the outside in? Most definitely from the inside out.
Yes. So modern physics, modern science, is taking the outside in. It's in a way we can acknowledge that something does go outside in a way, not really, really, but they're taking the information from the outside, this so-called objective information, data, and then they are analyzing this data, and this is how they are arriving at the same things that people found by doing it inside out. They went inside. They kept going deeper inside, and if you go deeper and deeper inside, and if you have a clear grasp on what it is you are seeking, right? If you look up to the stars and you look at a star and you say, really, really, I want to know what that is. I want to know. I need to know what that is, and then you just dedicate every single waking moment. This is something that gets lost in our world right now. There are so many humans on the planet. It is difficult to do such things. Before, when there were a few million people, you could find a place that you could just settle down, and if you knew how to scavenge food from the forest and take care of yourself from getting eaten by animals and all these things, you could just sit there and ponder one leaf, not even a star. You just take a leaf and you look at that leaf and you're like, what is going on in this leaf?
That's what I want, how I want to spend my life, but not like a complete hermit and living at the mercy of the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
wild. But I would like to settle in a place somewhere close to the mountains where I can always go into that mind state. I just felt the need to say that.
Yeah, this mind state
Hermit
is.
lifestyle, basically. That's what we're talking about.
Yes. However, once you do this, you can be a hermit anywhere. I'm a hermit at home. This is how I am, even right now. One of the key pieces for how they were able to figure this out is everything in this universe, in this cosmos, is the same and reflected as everything else. Nothing works fundamentally different. If you look at uh, neurons, a map of neurons, and then you look at the grander scheme of galaxies and galaxy clusters. You look at both of these, they're indistinguishable. Really, like if we do a little tweaking on those images, you can't know which one you're looking at. And that's how it is. If you look at
Right. So
branches,
as above, so below. So
exactly.
below. So that point of consciousness, divinity, and infinite creative force that sits in our core, in which we can become one with, or we can allow it to become one with everything. That is the answer. That is where they found out. Because when you reach that point of like infinite, immense, omni science, right? Omnipotence, you
Hmm.
kind of know. But then when Sanskrit is your vehicle of expression, like linguistic expression, obviously the description will be pretty much different than what
Yeah, yeah.
you know 21st century science offers you. That makes so much sense. And to be honest, I think I this was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like in my heart, this was the answer anyway. But I
Hmm.
was so curious to hear your take on it. So
I'll add one piece.
thanks, man. Thanks for confirming my inner metaphysical beliefs.
And I'll add
Inner, pun intended, inner.
inner, inner.
You see me
Yeah.
winking, wanking, ooh, winking,
I hope winking
wink.
okay, wanking I hope not. um, one thing, the aliens are rooting for us. The forces out in the
The
grander
the
universe
aliens are what?
rooting for us. They want us to know. They want us to explore what it means to be alive.
What is rooting? What does rooting mean?
Rooting means cheer, like cheering on, like go, 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 go.
Oh, so the aliens want us to be wiser and smarter. And
Yes, because they, if you're if you're experiencing the
how do
richness
you
of
know
life,
that?
because this is true for me. If you're experiencing the richness of life, all you will do is want others to experience the richness with you. The moment you are suffering this richness, because somewhere in this richness is the filth of life, if you're suffering this, then you will only want to put that filth on others. And how do I know this? Because
I've done
within
it.
my
Because you've done it. Because you've
yeah.
done it, Eitan. Because I've done it. That's how I know it.
Yeah, yeah, because I've had the experience to know that they are here in a subtle way, and that these forces, all that they want is for you to live life fully. This is a
Mm.
fundamental that you explore and you transcend and include and expand and do yoga. For me, this is how I've been telling people of yoga lately. You know that little connect the dots thing you do in kindergarten?
Mm-hmm.
You do this.
Da.
This is yoga. This is
This,
union. You're
this is
unifying 2 points. This is union. This is yoga. The word yoga means
what a
union.
beautiful way of expressing it. Yes.
And so simple. And yet, one thing that I now am coming to terms with is yes, connect the dots. However, do not cross over other lines.
Other lines, other people's lines, or what do you mean by other
Yes.
lines?
So, like these 2 points, we connect them like this
Mm-hmm.
line. But then, if we have these 2 points, if we do this in the same plane, then this line will be interrupted and there will be confusion. So we have to like do this and then this and use the whole ability to connect the dots without crossing over lines. The moment you start crossing over lines, this is where people are arguing with each other rather than having conversation, a constructive conversation to me. And argument is like a subtle word where uh, I tell people it's okay, like argue. Just
Argument is just a symptom.
is a symptom. What do you mean by this?
There is something deeper underlying an argument. An argument is just the surface manifestation of something that goes into the subtle.
I find it's okay to argue if you're arguing to reach an agreement. Like if we know for sure by the end of something we will reach an agreement, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking people deciding what strategy to use for war. They know that the moment they leave that room, they have to have an agreement. They will not leave the room without it.
Do you know who teach me this kind of understanding? Who brought this into my awareness?
Ooh.
Peter.
Oh.
Peter. You know
Mm-hmm.
how I'm super like argumentative. I don't know. I'm a man of many conflicts.
I am familiar with this.
Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I never thought that is something wrong about it, and I still think it's a very nuanced thing. But because this universe manifests itself however he wants, right? So not everyone has to be the same, and it goes a lot deeper than we can say. Anyway, Peter told me, but then there is like a very destructive side to it, and that's where
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to come to. And Peter told me I was arguing with Peter,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, look at your voice, look at your tone, and look at your body language. And then like I caught myself in like a frame, in like a picture of like I was maybe I was right about whatever we were arguing or like whatever it was, right? But but there is something there is a sin greater, a transgression greater than being wrong or being right, or and that
Ignorance.
and that is ignorance, but that ignorance manifests itself as pride. It's like there is a saying in the Tao. It says, after you won a battle you should mourn.
Mm-hmm.
You should
Yes.
ask yourself, why was I unable to avoid it?
Yes.
And you should get ready, because there is something coming back.
Yeah.
There is repercussions to your actions, therefore you should be wary. You shouldn't celebrate or anything. And that kind of like open a new avenue of thinking.
The
Or
ignorance
I
that
wouldn't say it open it, because it was probably there, but I would say it kind of like further solidify it. It
it's
just brought it into the awareness, kind of.
the thing that was happening is you were ignorant of how you were being, ignorant
Yes.
of yourself. You didn't know, you couldn't, if you were doing that, but you knew that your tone of voice was a certain way and you knew your body language was this, it would not be such a problem. But if you don't know, because it's, for example, acting. Someone acts and they know what they're doing and they act super angry and super horrible, but they know that they're acting. It's okay. They aren't bringing in the same energy into the universe by acting it out than by not knowing that they are doing it. The moment you don't
Hmm.
know what you're doing, you've lost awareness of your own system. This is the worst a human being can do to themselves, to others. This is what Peter, and he's done this to me too, is he is tending so intensely to everybody when he's with them. He's the kind who is, when he's with you, he's with you. The moment he's not with you, you're
He's not
gone.
with you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. It
Um,
is. That engagement gives you wings.
it does. And if he sees that you have no idea, you're confused, he flaps his wings at you and he's like, hey, wake up. Wake up. It's okay. You're doing this thing. I know I'm not telling you stop doing this thing. I'm just telling you, just at least notice. Your voice seems out of your control. Your body seems out of your control. Your emotions seem out of your control. Do you want them in your control? And
What is Mauna for you, Socrates?
to me,
And how did you find Mauna? I don't. For some reason, I missed this piece of information. I don't think you ever told me.
I don't know if I told this part of the story.
How did you reach Mauna? Mauna Farms, ladies and gentlemen. How did you reach it?
I was looking on WOOF, the Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms website, and
Wow.
then woof woof.
Wow.
I decided I wanted to be barefoot. This is what was the key thing for me. So I was in between Florida and Hawaii, and then I was like, okay, Florida does not sound so fun. Hawaii, and then I kept looking,
Why
and
did
then
you want it to be barefoot?
oh, because this is one of my favorite things to be.
Same. I
Yeah,
was curious what you're gonna say. Okay. Don't have
Okay.
to further elaborate. So you were in between Hawaii and Florida.
Then I chose Hawaii, and then I was looking and looking, and I had many calls with different farms, and nothing was clicking. And then I saw Mauna. I knew Mauna. I knew the term Mauna from Sanskrit being silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I called Peter. He said he sounded incredible over the phone. He said yes, come on. I said okay, and then got off the phone, bought a flight, and that was it.
Same. My initial experience with Peter was, "Hi, I'm in Molokai. I want to go back to Oahu because I'm probably going to end up being murdered by the locals. It's Molokai,
Yeah.
the Hawaiian island, is probably the most racist place in the whole of America. It's if you are white, you are, you know, you are
Mm-hmm.
doomed. You are a Haole. But I see why that is happening anyway. And Peter was like, "Oh, well, we have a lot of people right now, but when do you want to come?" And I was like, "Oh, in a bit about a week's time." And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "Fine." But what I understood from his attitude over the phone was, we're a bit like constricted right now. There's a lot of you. We, the elders, are about to go to Indonesia. And it's just like you'd be an extra, but come anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, okay. So circumstances are a bit strange, but he still wants me there. Like he
Yeah.
wants me to give me the opportunity to have this experience. And I was like, what a fucking guy.
Yeah.
What a gangster.
He
Peter.
is. Mhm.
Yes, okay. So you're here. You booked your flight to Hawaii. You landed at Honolulu International Airport.
I went to get a lobster sandwich. I walked my luggage for,
Uh-huh.
and I knew I wasn't going to eat meat once I got into the farm, and I said I want to eat something, and it was delicious, delicious. I also had a Biscoff cookie frappe.
How the hell do you remember all those details? All those
Uh,
details.
this is how my memory works. That I have chunks that I could tell you so much about.
Well,
Um, yeah. Then
exclude the unnecessary details. Although
okay,
I'm sure that lobster sandwich was amazing, and
it was,
thanks
and
a
then
lot. I today I'm on my third day of fast. This is my record. So
wow, wow,
whenever someone says food, I'm
yeah.
about to like, yeah,
I'll stop that.
turn
Then
werewolf.
I
No
take
problem.
uh, I get to Mauna. Shady Grove had flooded, so where we slept, this had flooded. So we were sleeping up front. There were only there were seven of us total, or yeah, just a couple, two friends, um, one more person my age, and then one older woman. And this was a group I arrived at.
So
And
you
that,
arrived at this um, artistic village,
mhm.
Mouna Farm in Hawaii. What was your first impression of the place, apart from being flooded?
Yeah, it.
And what do you mean by flooded?
What do you mean floated?
How flooded?
I don't know. I said floated. Oh,
How
flooded, flooded. Um,
flooded?
the rains had
Yes,
flooded. It had rained so much you couldn't walk to Shady Grove. You know that part where it's like a ditch?
yes.
It was like full of water, like up to your shins.
Right. Okay. So paradise underwater.
Yes. So we were up front by the field. This is where we were sleeping.
Yes.
And my experience of it was settled so much for me. I was like, okay, this is, I can live like this. It felt like a breath of fresh air. I had lived going to college for a year and a half, living with
So you
roommates and
ended
going.
up you ended up at Mauna Farm in Hawaii. Describe the farm to those who have not been there. PLS.
The farm starts with the entrance being Sonia's ground. Sonia is a short Okinawan woman
Sonia is the
who's
absolute gangster of everything. I absolutely love Sonia.
me too. She
I
is
was thinking about her yesterday. I was like, oh, I'm just like, yeah, sometimes I'm reminiscing about like getting all nostalgic about Hawaii. Anyway,
me too. She
bless
is
Sonia.
She is the
But
guardian of the entrance. She's so powerful and has, I don't know, 20 cats, 10
20,
chickens.
20 something.
Yeah, 20 something cats. And one of my favorite parts of Sonia, a bird or chicken can make a sound and she knows which one it is. And she would just be like, "Oh, yellow, you, how are you?" And I was
Yeah,
like, "How do you
that's
know?"
her. She's like, oh,
Ah.
that's so funny.
And she's like this, but she's also very spicy. But she was one of the people who she ranted to me because I made a mistake, and she told me like she went like this for about 3 minutes, and then I was like, "Yep, you're right, Sonia. I did something wrong. I made a mistake. I'm not going to argue back. I agree with you already." And then I just stayed silent for 3 minutes as she.
Do you know the Lilikoi story?
Do I know the Lilikoi story? Which one?
At some point, someone broke some of the vine, the Lilikoi vine, the passion fruit vine.
Wow.
Uh, it was about a week after I landed there. So everyone knew that I was like, like a cow. I was consuming everything because, all my life I was a meat eater. And then all of a sudden I'm in the Hawaiian paradise and there's papayas growing everywhere and lilikois and so on. So everyone thought of me, of course, thought that I broke the vine while I was trying to climb it or something to get the lilikoi.
Mm.
Uh, and I think another aspect of the story was something in the sense that I was around that area or something. Anyway, all the clues were indicating towards me. But guess what? Was not me. I
Okay.
didn't broke the one. But yeah, anyway, Sonia thought that I've done it. And I went through the 2 minutes of as well. So
It's
yeah.
intense.
Yeah, but I just like I said the truth, which was that it was not me.
Yeah, in
And
this
I
case,
think
you.
I think she saw it, like she understood that I'm not a 5-year-old who'd lie about such trivial matter.
Right, you would, if you had done it, you would just say, "Yes, I did it.
Oh yeah,
What's
absolutely.
my
Yeah. No,
consequence?" Like,
no problem about that. Yeah.
right. Um, yeah,
Sonia. Okay,
Sonia.
so we have the Guardian. Sonia is on the
Yeah,
left. Bam. You're
and
in.
then you have a garden dedicated to the UN, and it's a sunflower garden, and it has a flowering tree in the middle, some seeds that I actually have very nearby that they used to make shakers with. And so these I make. They're
What
very
is that?
small.
What is that?
So these seeds, little round seeds, like very small,
All right. Okay, I don't know them.
and this is how they make their classical shaking instruments in Hawaii. With that, um, this one doesn't work that well, but you have that garden, and then there's a mango tree there, and then you keep going. I call this the Lilikoi area. I call it Hanuman's Hall of Lilikoi. Um,
Why?
because across from it is the monkey pod tree, the big monkey pod tree that is there, and this is monkey pod. This is, and the story of Hanuman includes so much passion. He was so passionate about Rama and Sita, and he was so willing to do anything for them. And passion was
Who are these two? Rama and Sita.
Sita Ram are the characters of Indian history, of Bharati history. Not
Were they the lovers of Hanuman, or why was he willing to do anything?
he was their he so basically the story is Rama is a king in North India, and then Sita, his wife, gets kidnapped on his way to get her from Sri Lanka, or at this point not even Sri Lanka. At this point it's called Lanka. Um, going to get Sita from Lanka, he meets Hanuman, and Hanuman tells him, "I am at your service." Basically, one of the traditions of the way life has happened in humanity is one person will meet somebody else who they see as the highest, and then they will devote their lives to serving them in whatever way they can. And so this was how Hanuman was to Rama, and then because of Ram to Sita.
Hmm.
So the whole story of Hanuman is his devotion to Sita and Ram. Like this is where the story that gets told that we know. Obviously, he lived before that, but this is the story that we know. Um,
And coming back to the notion of, or sorry, did I interrupt you? Did you want to
no, no,
say?
go back to the notion because I was lost. That was all I had to share about Hanuman.
Oh, so I asked you earlier about the Hanuman being the avatar of Shiva,
Mhm.
and you explained me what an avatar is, what the avatar word means. But I still don't understand, like in the context of Hanuman being the avatar of Shiva.
Okay.
How how is that happening? What is the whole connection between the idea of the avatar and Hanuman being the avatar of Shiva?
I'm going to ask, is it okay if I go to my car and smoke? Like as far as the sound and the podcast framework.
Absolutely, Eitan.
Hanuman, hello Hanuman.
Oh, you have a statue of Hanuman in your house.
I do. And then,
That's not is that Hanuman? Let me see.
yeah,
Let's see. Oh yeah, that is Hanuman.
yeah.
Yes. Huh. How comes? Did you brought it or did your
No, no,
housemate?
no, no. I bought it. I bought it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hanuman has been. So I did ayahuasca 3 nights.
Uh-huh.
Nothing happened to me. I could have driven a car,
Uh-huh.
except for about 20 minutes where I saw Hanuman in a blanket, roaring, going
In a blanket.
and crying. Roar.
What was that?
Um, it's the cry of compassion and how much that was happening to me, and I didn't recognize it at the time. I was struggling to. Really, compassion doesn't look how a lot of people want it to look. People want pity. A lot of people are looking for to be pitied rather than to have someone have compassion for them. Because the moment someone has compassion for you, they're going to make you do things, right? Like they aren't going to solve your life. They aren't going to be like, okay, here you go, da da da, treat you like a baby, and no, no. At times, maybe it's necessary. However, once you're not just a baby, you have to do something for yourself, and people, many of them are in a state of not wanting to do anything for themselves. They want things to be done for them, and then they want to do things to other people. And for me, that experience was just, oh, I am just surrounded by people who have decided, who have made decisions that they are done with life. This is one of the biggest issues I have faced with my family. Is they think they have this figured out. They think they know what they need to do, and they know what I need to do and what I need to not do, and that as long as I follow their instructions on what not to do and what to do, then I will have a fulfilled life. It's just that I am the kind who looks at them and I'm like, you guys are suffering. You guys do understand that. And
Probably
then
not.
right, no, this is my thought process. And then throughout these years, I have come to the awareness that they are unwilling to see their own suffering. They think, and in my family, I have been the cause of a lot of disturbance. So they think I am the one who is causing those things within them. I know that I am not, because I will have this experience where I'm having a conversation with my father. I am okay. And then I say something, and all of a sudden, he is not okay, but I am still okay. And I'm like, oh, what just happened? Is it something happened within you? I brought something up within you, but I didn't. I'm not having this experience, right? Like I'm okay, you're not okay, and you're trying to make me not okay now because you are not okay. But
Mm.
I refuse now. At that moment, I couldn't. I didn't have the stability to not be not okay if my mom or my dad were having this. Nowadays, I'm on the phone with my father, and he just tells me he starts raising his voice, and I'm like, okay, you're raising your voice. That's okay. There's no need. There's no benefit. I know what you're doing. I know you're lost in not wanting to take full responsibility for who you are and what your experience is.
It's unconscious. And our prep this is all unconscious motives.
Yes.
But our parents, I will tell you something. Our parents, they done the best they could, the best they knew,
Mm-hmm.
and we will do the same for our kids. And our kids will judge us for this because I think we are, although everything is cyclical,
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point in time in history, try not to move the phone too much, please,
Okay.
because there's a
Okay.
lot of background noise. At this time in point of history, there is a certain elevated, accelerated um, development in human, well, obviously in technology, but So in the outer world, but also in the inner world of the individual, there is an accelerated evolution in consciousness, in understanding of life on this planet. Because I mean, at least there is a community, like a part of, there is a demographic, right? I hate that word. There is like a
Mhm.
certain community of like-minded people, and that is great. You know, it's almost like it's a spiritual war,
The
battle.
freedom fights. The freedom fights.
Well, I
The
think it's
question.
more, we're more like fighting for our lives, not for our freedom. It's
What is the difference? If I have life and then as long as I have life, I am
you
free to
can live
choose.
as a slave, Eitan. You can live as a slave, and
This is what the freedom fights are to me. The freedom fights are: do I want others to be free, or do I want others to not be free? So that I experience freedom from other people's oppression, or do I experience freedom from other people's freedom? I want everybody to be free. For me, within
yeah,
myself, I
I
am
think
super free.
you have to be a certain type of individual in order for you to feel free at the expense of others' freedom, because that's not freedom, that's an
No,
illusion. And
exactly. This is
I think
ignorance.
like the only freedom is your inner life decided. So the only freedom that you experience is it's in yourself, in your thinking, because you can be a prisoner somewhere in a Siberian prison right now and have an incredibly rich inner life and act as the psychologist or whatever, as the doctor of, or as the barber of all the other inmates, and feel an amazing sense of purpose at minus 50 degrees in Novorossiysk. Or
They are
you,
more free than the one who
or
is a slave to their own inner world. I
yes,
would rather
or
be in prison and free within myself than
yes.
outside and the prisoner of my own creation.
Gracias, tío. Gracias. Muchas gracias. So
And
freedom is a thing of perspective, limitation, and choice.
mhm, I have
But
written some.
your unconscious takes over, right? Like there is a reason for which a highly educated person like your father or mine, bless him because he died, um, there is a certain thing that we can learn from looking at why such people who were probably very capable, at least my father was, and intelligent, like would live guided, directed, and possessed by such obvious for you and me
Mhm.
unconscious motives, right? So it's like what Carl Jung said, like until we're gonna bring the unconscious into consciousness, we will be led by certain forces that we cannot understand or direct. That's not the exact quote, but that's the meaning of it.
Yeah, I want to
It's
speak a few
hard,
points.
man. It's hard to live from a point of serenity, clearness, and I don't want to say the word divine because I'm going to sound too new age, but I think that's what it is, being closer to the divine, to the essence, to the waves, to the patterns, and to the rhythm of the world, right? Of the natural world, anyway.
So when you say that this world is speeding up, are you aware that solar flares, literal solar flares, like astronomically, like according to NASA and any astronomical observation laboratory, they are
Mhm.
increasing to the point where in a month we're having the amount that were happening in multiple years, decades ago.
What does that imply? What does that mean?
It's
What's the
outbursts of energy. Outbursts of energy are coming to the planet, gamma rays, neutrinos, more intensely, faster than they were before.
Mm.
And so this is causing a lot of this uptick in energy. Is the sun is going through a certain cycle. It's gone through this before. Um, However, now it's intense, more intense than it was in previous decades. It hasn't been this intense in centuries, and so this is part of what's causing this. The other thing, as far as our fathers go, they didn't do enough Shiva. And in the Hebrew tradition, Shiva is the term for you sit Shiva. When somebody passes, mourning, somebody has passed away, you mourn for them, and it's called sitting Shiva, and you tear your clothes, you sit on the ground, you cover all the mirrors, you only eat bland food.
Bland food.
Yeah, like not much spice. You you don't have big celebration, you sit and you mourn. And in a way, what happens to people is that they are too focused on the creating, preserving, and they don't complete the cycle of destroying something within themselves. Even though they have seen it cause harm, they are unwilling to face the harm that they have caused, and so they keep going back to creating something else. And then they preserve the harm rather than creating something. For me, it's quite clear. You have to do these things, you have to have the experience of harming others so that you learn that it's not valuable and not conducive to a human life. And then you say, okay, now I will start treating others the way I would want to be treated. I did the thing where I treated others the way I didn't want to be treated. I learned that lesson and I preserved the lesson. That's the one piece that I preserve, but I destroy the characteristic that leads me to do those things. I preserve the understanding that I am capable of horrible things. That is something that is significant for me. I know how horrible I'm capable of being. However, I also know that I am capable of using my awareness and my consciousness to overcome and transcend these things. I include them within myself. I know that I'm capable. It's just that I know that I'm capable of something greater, and therefore I would choose to do the good thing rather than do the harmful thing. And I think a lot of, in particular, men throughout time have been unwilling to feel the pain that they have caused and to recognize. Mm-hmm. So there was a word that I wanted to bring up,
Yes, please.
and it's gonna two things. The first thing is the thing people call death is encompassed by the thing people call life. Life encompasses death, and this is part of what's missing in our experience of life. That what people are calling enlightenment is actually the only real thing of death. It's the actual leaving of this plane is what people call enlightenment. That is actual death, but the thing they call death is encompassed by life. It's still a part of life. And the word is itihasa. Itihasa means and so it happened. And in India, what used to be called Bharat, they had this word to refer to. There are things where this is what happened, and then we're also going to talk about things with allegory and metaphor and tell and make up stories. We're going to do both. However, the stories of Shiva are largely itihasas. It happened that way. If you go into some other texts, there are allegories and stuff like this, but a lot of the stories, it happened that way. This was a being who was here, who avatared himself in onto this plane, onto this planet, and taught yoga. However, when I say taught yoga, he did not teach practices of yoga. This is very clear in the text. He simply taught this is how it works, and then the 7 students gave it all back, all the knowing of how it works back, so that they could have practices, and then they could teach practices for people to experience this directly.
But is this a thing in the Vedas and in the Bhagavad Gita in regards to Shiva bringing yoga?
Yes, yes,
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah. Shiva is Adi Yogi. Shiva is the first yogi, the first one on this planet who taught yoga, who taught the possibility of union. Because one thing that is very clear is all other animals are existing as one, right? Like you don't have to do anything to a dog. A dog knows that it's in tune with everything else, but it doesn't know it consciously. In a way, this is what childhood is like. In childhood, you know, but you don't know that you know. You simply know. You're in a constant state of knowing and knowing and knowing, but the ability to know what you know is not there, or know that you know. You don't know that you know. And then during adolescence, you begin to forget, and then you don't know, and then you recognize, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know all of these things. And then adulthood is the opportunity to not only know, but know that you know, and to be aware of what it is that you know and what it is that you don't know, and to keep exploring. I don't know this, okay. Is it something I want to know? Am I seeking this direction? Because the things that you can know are endless. This is not going to end. We don't have enough time as a human to explore all that a human being can explore in one human lifetime. There's no way.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is life happening from inside out, or is life happening from outside in?
It's happening inside out.
You see, so we have time to experience everything, maybe in this particular second.
Mm.
I am fascinated and passionate about the idea of stretching the second, or meditating, as they call it. But you can stretch the second in multiple ways, like psychedelics.
You can experience the totality of the universe, yes. However, that is not the same as. So right now, I can sit here and experience in an internal way what it is like to eat the best pizza on the planet. However, this is only one side of the equation. The other side would be to actually try to go and find what I consider the best pizza on the planet. These are two. It's the back and forth of this where
is the physical reality and is the psychological reality. But say no more. Say nothing about pizza, please, because
oh my goodness, yes,
I had like a knife.
I am so sorry. Yeah.
No, no. It's fine. It's fine. I'm mature now. I'm not a child anymore. I'm not blessed with the wisdom of a child anymore. So I can control my, infatuation for pizza right now. That is so very interesting, Eitan, what you
Yeah.
said about when you're a child, you know, but you don't know that you know. When you're an adolescent, you start forgetting and you're like, oh, I don't know this and I don't know that. And then when you're an adult, you have the possibility to know what you know and know what you don't know. Thank you so much, Eitan, from the bottom of my heart. And I am so excited about the episode where we're gonna just speak about Mouna. In the meantime, I'm gonna create some beautiful, beautiful edit on this video, and it's gonna be online in a few days.
I look forward to it.
And I can't wait to see you for the next episode about Mouna, the farm of consciousness, the farm of everything.
The silent mountain.
The silent mountain.